Ladies and gentlemen, the situation is very, very serious on the Cameroon side. The Cameroon, which experienced an election really Turkish, an election unimaginable. We know this, moreover, every year, for every election, it's always been like that. Since Paul Biya came to the power, he did more than how much years in power? 42 years, 43 years. We doesn't even know anymore. He's old. He can't even make speeches anymore. He no longer controls the country. I had gave a lecture on it here. I had a video conference on that. Many Cameroonians who are in the circles of power are put to say everything they thought. Many took a bad, but the truth remains the truth. That's it. And unfortunately, we have that those around Paul Biya don't want to let him go, since themselves take advantage of the situation. There you have it, a president who can't even to speak, who simply needs to rest. In short, it was a little parenthesis. Are the demonstrations in Douala? Yes, there were demonstrations in Douala and in other cities, following the call that was made by Tchiroma, who declared himself the winner of the presidential election and who would like recognition of his victory. Well, it must be said that between two words, you have to choose the lesser one bad. That's what remains clear. The Cameroonians need today, when even, of a change. Imagine those who were born, who are 25 years old today, were born. They found Paul Biya at the power. Cameroon is not in the process to develop. That's it. If it isn't for a colonial policy which is in place, which makes it so that at any time it is alcohol that is sent galore to Cameroon and all that, Cameroon does not know prosperity as such. Now we have a big country that even the citizens call the continent, because that there in Cameroon you find everything. But the matter becomes very, very complicated since this time when even we have another one which is very determined and wanting to fight with Paul Biya's diet. And fortunately, we have even though the youth who understand and who goes out to follow the order. So on the Douala side, it's very, very serious. On the Cameroon side, it is very, very serious. The situation is only Reddit. The UN is very worried. As part of this conference, it is of this news that we are going to talk. But before you continue, agree to share as much as possible. We must share the conference. There, since we have to be very clear, if this news on the Cameroon side you are interested, well, of course, it must be shared. It gives me the courage to continue giving yourself the latest information related to the presidential election, the crisis post-election on the Cameroon side. Since our goal here is to help you give the information that you are of global interest in the midst of world news, we choose, then we peel them for you, we follows this news. So don't forget to click on subscribe if this is your first time to come across my conference. It must be said that it's a dramatic atmosphere in the economic capital. Now the opposition took to the streets. For the moment, according to the authorities regional, there were 4 deaths. But according to direct information which we have come from the field, there were more of 6 who were sent to rest eternal. This car is this police vehicle was set on fire. They set fire to it. Yes, to Douala has been hot these last few days. It's not only yesterday. That's it. It's very, very hot. I just didn't want to maybe talk about it because I felt simply that Cameroonian youth may not be interested in this, what's happening in his country. There you go. Since when the news of at your place is carried like this and we talk about it, there you go. We have to share. We have to react. There you go. If you don't react, it means that, and we are here to help better understand what is happening past and to help people in their different struggles. Today, the Cameroonian people need to be helped, to be saved from the hands of this dictator, Paul Biya. He is a dictator without previous. It is also the last dictators that exist in Africa, he must be said. In any case, the most old, and we still know, go international when you travel abroad. those who are many abroad today, when you take the African people, but the Cameroonians come normally in first position, not to say that Cameroonians compete with the coast from Ivory Coast, the Ivorians, and it is because that it is very hot in Cameroon. But you can't talk about it, you talk, but you know what we're talking about, that we are going to do to you. So what happening in Cameroon deserves to be denounced. And it deserves to be widely relayed. It must be said that it is a mobilization massive and dramatic. Yesterday in Douala, thousands of demonstrators gathered in particular in the neighborhoods Nobel around the antenna of the Cameroon election and the camps. So there was a clash between the crowd and law enforcement, which has obviously leads to the use of gases, tear gas, projectile G. And according to the authorities, there have been cases of death. There were even gunshots, real, huh? And therefore thousands of others protesters were dispersed and many were arrested. So that is not going well. The people are determined, and the people who follow Isoma is determined. We can also notice even in humor of the different actors. There are some actors who sing humor but who give their position politics. We know that generally artists are in politics, but listen, we see them seize their alluable situation remains very, very tense on the side from Cameroon. And so what triggered this? It is necessary to say that this march, which was called Peaceful March, was called by Tchiroma. He called Izati. Bakari has called to descend peacefully into the street to demand recognition of his victory and denounce the fraud, a alleged fraud. So it was he who called on his supporters to descend into the street. It must be said that today, at lack of a credible alternative, many young people follow Tchiroma. There, he became the hope of the Cameroon today anyway. And so young people listen to him, and protesters demand transparency results, the withdrawal of certain electoral institutions, and evacuation of the current power. He demands the departure of current power to recognize symbolizes a loss of legitimacy, absolute on the part of the power, and therefore insane process. So the situation remains really tense, and Tchiroma is determined. He is very, very determined. The people too, the conscious part of the people support him. They are